welcome to What's the Talk in the Metaverse.
Hey guys, welcome to What's the Talk? It's CGTN's first soft debate show. I'm Yang Xinmeng, and what you are seeing now is our special stage in the Metaverse, where our guests from all around the world will be joining us, meeting each other, and debating. So thank you so much for tuning in. We are currently streaming on various media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube in Chinese, Weibo, WeChat, Bilibili, Yangshipin, and of course, CGTN's official website. So feel free to join our discussions and share your opinions anytime with the hashtag What's the Talk. We are very much looking forward to see your thoughts. And we are very honored today to have 6 guests joining us online for the talk in the Metaverse. 2 ladies and 4 gentlemen. Welcome. They are from different parts of the world with different points of views. So before I introduce the topic, let's get to know them first. Okay, I will start with the ladies. Nikita Kamane from South Africa, welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Nikita. I am from South Africa. I'm currently in China teaching English. I came here 2018 in June, and that was because I couldn't find a job in South Africa. So I decided, since I know an opportunity of teaching English in China, let me go for it. And I've been having a very great experience ever since. I'm meeting new people, learning different cultures, because there's people all over the world here. And part-time, I am running a talk show, which is called All Things Relationships Abroad. I basically have, I interview guests about their experiences abroad. I also view their homes, apartments. We have like apartment tours. And yeah, I feel like that is because I have a great passion of hosting, basically. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. And we just saw a very cute avatar besides you. That's your avatar that will be representing you in our Metaverse today. And guys, all of you have this cute avatars except me. So next one, let's come to Gucci from Beijing, China. Welcome.
Hello guys, thank you for having me. I'm Gucci. You can also call me Gucci. Kidding. I'm co-founder of the artificial intelligence company Higgs, and we focus on developing robust interactive AI engine and service, especially education sector. And I'm also a certified fitness coach and founder of a fitness podcast called Winner Mindset. So thank you for having me, and just cannot wait to debate with all the other guests here. Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Now let's move to the gentleman. Wilfried Byron, welcome.
Hi there. Hi everyone. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on the show. My name is Wilfried. I'm from France, although I currently live in Singapore. I've been an entrepreneur for the past couple of years. I started my first business, a direct-to-consumer brand, actually between Beijing and Hong Kong. I used to live in Beijing for a couple of years. Today I'm running a second company. I still run the first one more as a side business, but today I run a business called Zappy as my main kind of occupation. So Zappy is a startup based out of Singapore, targeting different Southeast Asian markets. We build e-commerce enablement software for small businesses in Southeast Asia. Think of it as Shopify for small businesses in the region. So to date, we've raised over $4 million from some of the world's biggest investors. We've grown our team quite significantly in the past year and a bit, and lots of exciting things ahead. So very happy to be on the show and look forward to debating with the rest of you.
Cool, that's so impressive. And then we also have Jim Fields joining us from the United States. Hi, Jim.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Jim. Previously, I spent over 12 years living in mainland China. And like Wilfried, actually, although I come from the States, I'm currently in Singapore. As you can see from my t-shirt, I'm running a company called Relay Club, and this is my second venture. I previously also have another company that I set up in 2016 called Relay Video, making videos for a lot of companies in Asia that want to tell stories to the world. And besides these two things, I also am a YouTuber who makes content on YouTube, and I've also worked for like TikTok and some of these other platforms. So So thank you guys for having me.
Well, you have quite a lot of job experiences. We'll save that for later. And then we also have Michał Bozeski from Poland. Welcome.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Michał. I'm from a small town in central Poland, and currently I'm based in Łódź, also in Poland. So I've worked in many different companies. So started with translation work, then I moved to sales, and now I'm a procurement specialist in a large global pharmaceutical company. So yeah, I chose the job because I really like this idea of everything running smoothly, everything being just solving the problems. And this is what I can do at work. And I hope that this debate can also help you with that, that it can be of some help to you. Yeah, and I'm glad I'm here. Thanks for having me, and see you on the debate.
Looking forward to your performance, Michał. And last but not least, we have Enoch Wong from Hong Kong, China. Welcome.
Hello, hi, my name is Enoch Wong. I'm from Hong Kong, China. Over the last 10 years of my career in higher education sector, I've worked in 7 different countries across Africa, Asia, and Europe. And around half of that decade, I worked for someone else. And for the other half, I was a co-founder of 3 different educational startups. But after attending the Schwarzman Scholars Program at Tsinghua University, I really fell in love with the university culture and ended up making an interesting choice of being an employee again. So now I work for Tsinghua University as the senior manager for online education and international development. Thank you for having me, and I'm loving the hair of my avatar. Thanks.
Yeah, you all have those cute avatars in the metaverse. It's so cool to see you guys all because, you know, we are from different cities, different countries here, but we can't meet each other face to face. But it's so good to have this opportunity that your avatars can actually meet in our metaverse stage. So that's a good opportunity. I will definitely talk to the directors to make me an avatar for myself. I don't know why I don't get one. So yeah, so glad to have you all. So what's the talk today? Let's move to the topic. You know, today is June the 20th. It's graduation season again. I don't know about you guys, but I have watched many graduation commencement videos on social media platforms everywhere. So that means a new flock of young talent is ready and eager to join the job market. They are younger, they are more energetic, and they're full of passion. So today we are going to talk about a major life decision that they are facing. It's actually an inevitable decision that all of us have to make in our lives. And I can see actually the 6 of you, actually the 7 of us have already made different choices already. It's about choosing the career path. Usually we have 2 common options, either thrive as an employee or succeed as an entrepreneur. In other words, to be or not to be the boss after graduation. So from your introduction, we can see that many of you have entrepreneurship experiences already, and many also have worked for a company. That's perfect because you have different views. Now for these recent graduates, they just left school. They are fresh off the ivory tower, setting their first step in the real world. What kind of suggestions do you have for them? That is our topic today, being a boss or being an employee after graduation. Now we're going to have a debate around this topic, but before the debate starts, I'll have to split the 6 of you into 2 teams. But just so you know, we have the boss team and the employee team, but each team has only 2 seats. So we are going to play a game. You'll have to win your seat in your team. Let's take a look at the game rules.
Here are the rules of the game. Each player in the circle will individually give 3 statements about him or herself. 2 of these statements must be true and 1 must be a lie. The other players must then try and guess which statement is the lie. If more than half of the players fail to identify the lie, the player that gave the statement wins the privilege of choosing his or her position first. If the lie is detected, the player will lose this privilege. Each player only gets 2 questions to ask for details throughout the game, so make good use of them.
Yeah, so that is our rule. Are you all clear about it? Yeah? Okay, so we've made 6 cards to decide the order. Let's see who will go first. Enoch, obviously. Okay, so you are the lucky one to go first. Let's hear about your 3 statements.
Oh, my 3 statement, as you can see, is first, I've never worked for the same boss for more than a year, which means I change jobs every year. Second, I worked in 3 different African countries over 3 years. The third one is I haven't lived with my parents since the age of 10.
Ooh, that's a hard one because the directors, can we see the statements longer just so people won't forget? Guys, make a guess. Which one is the lie? Remember, you have two chances to ask questions during the whole game round. Use them well. Do you want to ask him any question?
Which African countries? And you have to say it fast.
Tanzania, Ghana, and South Africa.
Ooh,
Okay.
easy one. Any more questions? This is actually a hard one because I think the first and second statements kind of explain each other, but let me not interfere your choices. Do you have your guess already? I'll do a countdown. Use your hand gesture. Show me which one is the lie. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Which one is the lie? So you can see 2 number 1 and 3 number 3. So more people think number 3, the third one, is a lie. So I left home and didn't live with my parents since the age of 10. Okay, now let's review the answer. Enoch, is it? Wrong guess.
I won.
Okay. Yeah, so you are the winner. You win your privilege to choose a section. But I do have one question for you. Why did you leave home so early at such a young age? Did your parents hate you, or were you kicked out?
I'm not loved by my parents. No, actually, in fact, because both my parents never attended universities. So when there was an opportunity that arose to get a scholarship to study abroad, we kind of jumped onto it. So I left home when I was 10 to move to UK to study. So I've been away from my parents ever since. It's been interesting to say the least. But yes, you learn to take care of yourself. So I guess that kind of helped me when I decided to be an entrepreneur in some way or form. But yes.
You said you decided to be an entrepreneur. Does it mean you are going to choose the boss team? What's your choice?
Is there a third choice by any chance?
Well, yeah. I mean, technically, yes, because each team has only 2 seats. So that left 2 people in the person in a neutral position. So
let me choose a neutral for now. But unless if someone else wants a neutral. But I'm swayed by both sides for now. So
neutral right now, for now. Okay.
I want to be special and choose a third choice.
Yeah. Okay. Being the first one has the privilege. Okay. Now let's move to the second person, to the 6 cards. See who's the second one. Nikita. Okay, Nikita, tell us your 3 statements: 2 truth and a lie.
Okay. So my shortest work experience with a company is 5 days. I started my business with my first salary in China. And I had an interview on a Chinese Mango TV channel.
Wow. Okay, so I can see the order of your statements. It's a little bit different from what we are showing on the screen. Let's just do the screen order. So guys, you can ask her a question about her 3 statements. Where do you want to make your guess right now?
How much was your first salary?
That is so personal.
I have the power to ask the question.
Okay, I'll just say between 13 RMBs to 20.
13 RMB to 20? You can't buy anything with that.
I think there's a K at
Depends.
the
It
end.
depends on the business. It depends on the business,
Okay.
the type of a business. Yes.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of small businesses. So guys, yeah, let's just decide. Let's just make our decision. Guess which one is the lie. In 3, show me your hand gesture. Show me your choices. 3, 2, 1. I see 2, number 1, 2, number 2, and 1, number 3, right? So more people. Do we have a tie here? Yeah. So 2 people are choosing number 1. 2 people are choosing number 2. You get to ask another question, or you can change your decision because we're having a tie.
I'll change to number 1 then.
Oh, okay. That's a fast decision. So 3 people choose number 1. Okay, let's reveal the answer. Which one is the lie? Number 1. Sorry, Nikita. Bummer. Okay, but I am very interested in what would be a 5-day job?
Actually, the problem we are having is I named or I lined my thingies, my statements in different. Remember, they're different and you have them differently there. So with me, what I have here, I actually won. Because my first one was my shortest work experience, remember, which is 5 days. And they said 1. So that is the truth, actually. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, so it's on us. It's our producers. It's our producers who make the mistake. The appearance, the order appear on our screen is different from the order you gave us. So, okay, we consider you are the winner. You have the choice to choose your position: boss team, employee team.
Join me.
Actually, I am thinking of joining Enoch because, yeah, let me just be here because he's already here. Let me join him.
Oh, guys, the rule of this game is to choose between the boss team and the employee team. But the first of you that you all choose the neutral side. That's interesting. Are you waiting for more statements or more time to convince yourselves?
We are forcing the others to make the choices.
Cool.
Yeah.
So still, the other 4 players, all 4 seats in the 2 teams still remain available, but there's no place in the middle. Next up, you have to make up your mind. Let's see who's next. 3rd player. Let's see the card. Wilfried. Okay,
Alrighty.
Wilfried, your statements.
Yeah. So, okay, let me see if I can remember that from memory. Okay, so
now.
Yeah. So my first one is that I've had 6 attempts at starting a business. My second one is that I've raised millions of dollars for a company in which I never met a single member of my team or a single investor in person. And the last one is that, and I should mention that my first business is a high-end watch brand. That as part of my first business, I sold a watch to JJ Lin. For those who don't know, he's a famous celebrity. And yeah, singer.
That is
Lin Junjie.
Oh, wow,
Lin
Lin
Junjie.
Junjie. Yeah. Okay. So he is a very famous pop singer in China. So wow. Your guesses, guys.
I want to ask a question very, very quickly without hesitation. The name of the fixed business.
Just so you know that this is the second question you are asking.
It's okay. Let's not give time for Wilfred to think. The name of the fixed businesses. Very quickly.
So these are attempts at starting businesses. They didn't all have names. So one of them was called Jingpei. Another one is Atelier1, then Zappy, and then there are 3 others that had no names because it died too early on. Yeah, no, actually, no, there was another one. All right, I'll have to get back to you. I forget the name of another one. That was years ago.
Ooh, can't say the 6 names. That's probably answer, or that's just too long ago. What's your guess? Countdown in 3. Yeah, so let's see the statements again. Let's follow the order. Our producers, please put the statements back to the screen so that everyone can see it. Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Okay, everyone. Enoch, what's your choice? Number 1. Everyone chooses number 1. What is the real lie? Which one is
everyone
the lie?
chose number 1?
Yeah, everyone chose number 1.
Yeah, no, the third one is a lie. I've never sold a watch to Lin Jie. I wish the day that Lin Jie buys one of our watches will be a great day. But no, I have had 6 attempts at starting a business. The first one was called Keystone Emissions, which was an education business. The second one is Atelier1. It's my watch brand. The third one is second one was Jingpei. The third one was Atelier1. The fourth one did not have a name. The fifth one was called Liar, and the sixth one is Zappy. So yeah, there's been quite a few failures in the past few years, and then a couple successes.
I'm just curious that how did you come up with JJ Lin? Because people make up lies, but this lie looks really, really like a truth. Yeah. How did you come up with his name?
The best lies are the most specific. So I guess that turned out well.
Yeah. Okay. So you get to choose your position, boss team and employee team. There's no neutral position left right now.
I'll pick the boss team.
Obviously, you already have 6 attempts to start business, boss. You're absolutely a boss. Now let's move to the 4th player. Who is the next one? Kuxi. Kuxi, make your statements. Let's see.
Okay. So for the first one, I spend 4 million RMB every month on company salaries. And the second one is I've never written and still don't have any resume. The third one is I made the decision to co-found this startup when I was traveling by Lake Baikal. So these are my statements. Take a guess.
Oh my God. So 4 million RMB, so 4 million yuan, that equals to $600,000 US.
Yeah, ish.
Yeah. So she spends $600,000 US every month on salary. That's her first statement. Do you want to ask her any questions?
I have a question. So what was the name of the startup in number 3?
Number 3, this is a startup I'm still running now, currently, Higgs Technology.
Okay.
She is running Higgs Technology.
Yeah, I'm persistent.
Crossing it off.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions? No? Okay, so let's review. Make the guess. In countdown in 3, 2, 1. What's your guess? Which one is the lie? Number 2, number 1. I see 4 number 1s and 1 number 2. So more people choose number 1. Let's reveal the answer. Which one is the lie? So apparently nobody believes that you spent $600,000 US on salary a month. Oh my God, you're a big boss here.
And that's because I haven't mentioned the size of the company. I think that was at the peak time. Still not recently, but I did spend on average 4 million RMB every month. Yeah.
Wow. So how many employers do you have?
Almost 300 employees.
Ooh. Okay, so you have the chance to choose a team, boss team, employee team. Employee team has 2 left.
Yeah, so I started my career working for a company, but it was for a very short period. And then I started my company with my co-founders. I do think combine these 2 different experiences, I would firmly, very determined to choose to work for others, which means being as an employee first.
That's unexpected. Okay, yeah. So you joined the employee team. We have 2 players left, Mahal and Jim, and we have 2 seats left, 1 in each team. And let's see who's the next player. Because automatically, if the next player chooses one team and the second player automatically will go to the other team. So let's see who's the next player. Show us the cards. Oh.
Yeah,
okay,
I'll wait so as not to make an ordering mistake.
Okay, we just automatically went to Mahal. So Mahal, I think, yeah, it's time to make your 3 statements.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's see what are, yeah, here they are.
Yeah, so I used to play in multiple bands at the same time, so play an instrument. Number 2 is I've been on a 600 kilometers bike trip. And number 3, I used to have a radio show.
Okay, questions?
Can I comment? Because I don't have any questions. I just want to say, Mihao, you look like very interesting guy.
Judging from my avatar, I look like Harry Potter.
I will consider that as a question, though.
Yeah. No matter is it true or a lie, they all look so interesting.
Yeah, any more questions to Mahal, everyone?
Can you sing a bit for us so we can decide about your music skills? Just maybe a little song?
Sing.
Yeah.
Yes, singing has never been my forte. No, I would rather not sing in public, honestly.
You're not comfortable performing.
You'd catch me at the karaoke.
He's in a singer in the band.
I see. Okay. So you don't like to perform music, but you're in a band.
I love to perform music, but not sing. I would rather be, in the back line.
So which instrument do you play for the band?
I play the drums, and I also played a bit of synthesizers on the side.
What's the name of the radio show?
So
okay,
that's like
that's another
English.
question. But okay.
Yes. So just to repeat, the name of the radio show was Co Teraz because it was in Polish. So to English, it's like what now? I guess. Yeah.
What now? All right. Quick guess. Everyone, count down in 3, 2, 1. Show me which one is the lie. I see. Oh, we have another tie here. Do anyone want to change your decision? We have 2 number 1 and 2 number 2. Producer, can you show us the statements again so that, yeah, is it either number 1 or number 2? Make another guess. Do anyone want to change position?
Okay, I'll change to 2.
Yeah, same here.
Number 2. Oh, okay. Now we get 4 2s here. Review the answer. Which one is a lie?
Oh.
Wrong guess. Wrong guess. You won, Mahal. Congratulations. You have the last opportunity to choose your seat. Boss team or employee team?
Yeah, I also started as an employee. I'm still an employee now. I do want to become a boss someday, but I think after graduation, I would rather stick to the employee side.
Okay, so Mahal joins the employee team, and that leaves Jim no choice. He can only be a boss. So what you're seeing now is our lineup for the first round. We have Wilfried and Jim in the boss team. They are I can't see it very clearly, they are the orange section, and we have Mahal and Guxi in the employee team. They are the blue team, and then we have Nikita and Enoch in the middle. They remain the neutral position right now. So teams, let's officially start our debate, being a boss or being an employee. But like we said, it's a soft debate, a gentle one. So be gentlemen, be lady. The point is there's no right or wrong arguments because different choices have their own pros and cons. As we can see, you are all very successful in your own career, either as an entrepreneur or as an employee. So we just hope that we can share different opinions through the talk and tell about the pros and cons for our audience. So to those of you who are watching, no matter you are a recent graduate or currently facing similar career-changing situation, we hope that you can get some hints or inspirations from it, or if it can be of some help in making your career choice, that would be the best. So you can also share with us your ideas, concerns, questions, or stories. We welcome all different views. Just comment below and let us know. So now we start our first round of debate. Let's start from the boss team. You have 2 minutes to make your statement. Jim and Wilfried, pick one person to go ahead, and then we go to the employee team, and then the second person in the boss team, and then the employee team again. Later on, Nikita and Enoch, remember you need to make your choice after their statements. You need to join the team afterwards. Clear?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
So Jim and Wilfried, who will go first?
I'll start us off.
Okay, Jim, 2 minutes.
So the first thing I'll say is that I actually never wanted to be a boss. When I started my career, I was a kid growing up in Silicon Valley, and I worked at a Starbucks. I was originally just making coffees and lattes and frappuccinos for a bunch of rich people who worked in tech companies. And then over time, had the chance to come to China, and I was working in other companies for other people. I was making videos and making content for social media and doing all kinds of projects. And when it got to be around 2013, I had the chance to become the country manager for a British company that wanted to set up an office in China. And this was my first taste of getting to sort of feel what it would be like to have a team and have employees and, run the show. But at the end of the day, I still wasn't the boss because I was running the shop on behalf of somebody else. And so after I did that for a few years, I thought, you know what, it might be kind of fun to do this on my own and set up my own little shop, which is what I ended up doing in 2016. And I did that. And ever since 2016, I never looked back. So it's been, almost 6 years since we set that up. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think, for the young graduates who are watching today, or also for the undecided people, part of the panel today who are contemplating whether it's better to be a boss or an employee. I think it all comes down to, for me, one key concept, which is about, freedom. So ultimately, we've all dealt with situations where we've had some boss, whether it's a good or a bad boss, breathing down your neck or micromanaging you or giving you orders that you don't like. And ultimately, if you're your own boss, deciding on your own schedule and choosing what you do every day, you breathe easier, you sleep better, you have more fun, and things can go bad. If things do go bad, that's on you. But at the same time, you have tremendous freedom and flexibility. And for me, I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I think that's
thank you, Jim. I think we're 2 minutes up, but we get your point.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and now let's go to the employee team. Who wants to go first?
Okay, so I can go first.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually
you can start some of his points first, and then you can state your own reasons. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is surprising because I kind of agree with Jim here. So, but I have like the opposite thing for now in my life, in that I always wanted to be the boss, to have my own even small company, but I ending up being an employee first. And I'm really grateful for that, because I think what we have to remember about is that we're talking about the time after graduation. So when I think of myself right after graduation, I didn't really know much. Yeah, I grew up in a smaller town in the central Poland and then moved to a bigger town, as most people in Poland do. So I didn't have any real connections. And this is what being an employee really gives you. It gives you the connections you might need. It gives you the experience you can learn from the more experienced people. And yeah, like Jim said, of course, the people make good decisions and then they make bad decisions, but you can learn from both. You can just take what you like and not take what you don't like. Maybe just gather up those resources, learn from others, and then perhaps in a couple years down, maybe start your own business. But for fresh graduates, I think safest bet is just to work for another company and learn as much as you can, make a good impression, and it will just be a great thing for you in the future.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. Thank you, Mahal. Starting your first job, working for someone else for the fresh graduates. And then let's move to Wilfried.
Yeah. So I do have my disagreements with what was said by actually both sides, because I don't necessarily always agree on the freedom part of owning your own business, because you end up, you answer to your employees to an extent, to your investors, etc. Right? So there are pressures there. But anyway, let me make my point about why you should be a boss, right?
He's your teammate, right?
I know, but we see that we have the same conclusion about coming at it from different angles. So for me, since I was in high school, I wanted to start my own business, and that was really out of impact orientation. I wanted to start something big, something impactful, and I realized that I could only do so much with my own two hands, right? And that I could, if I could utilize the leverage of heading up an organization and organizing resources behind an objective, rather than going at it myself, I would be able to bring about so much more impact. And that's really what drove me to be an entrepreneur in the first place, not just once, but a number of times, as I mentioned, right? At the same time, I consider myself a deep generalist, right? I'm extremely curious. I love doing different things. The last thing that I want to do is spend all of my day, doing one single thing. And some people are deep specialists and they will love that. But I would much rather, delve into product during 1 hour, into HR during the next, fundraising during the next, then marketing, and so on and so forth, right? And when you're talking about having just graduated, you really want to be optimizing for learning. And heading up a startup and touching on all of these different fields is really what is going to accelerate your learning at the fastest possible pace, right? The last thing is that if you play your cards right, the downside is actually low and the upside is enormous.
Thank you, Wilfried. Yeah, you only have 2 minutes. But we'll have more opportunities to let you finish your views in the next round.
Sure.
And then let's move to Guxi.
Thank you. I do have similar experience with Michal. We started as freshmen and working for companies, big companies, and we learned a lot. And then we decided to start our own business, big or small. That's why I combine all of this too. I would like to say working for someone else is a great opportunity to learn first, because your first boss is always very important. You'll find his or her influence all across your career. So try not to be the one yourself. Find a different one and try a different style. And the second thing I want to say is systematic working habits are like base construction of high rises. Learn as much as you work in big companies or with someone who has that experience, because it will save you from a lot of rookie problems in the future. And the third one is being a boss means tremendous responsibilities. It requires you not only to be a skillful and experienced leader, but to be charismatic. And most people find this trait. It doesn't mean if you're not a boss, you're not charismatic, but we mostly find that trait in ourselves by time and also by different jobs, right? And last thing I want to say, working for others means you got to listen and obey most of the time. And it's pretty crucial mindset when you are the boss yourself. That's why I think with all this combined, accumulated, work for someone else, earn first, and then decide who you really are, and then maybe start your own business or maybe work for other companies. Just try. Thank you.
Thank you, Guxi. And now all four players, all four people finish their statement. Enoch and Nikita, you need to think about your decisions. You can each ask them one question to each team. Do you have any questions to ask, or you are decided already?
I do have a question, and I think this one is just based on everyone, because I think from their answers, then I can be able to decide which team I will go for. So everyone has mentioned that it is best, or they recommend working for a company first before starting your own business. So I want to know, because for me, my experience, when I worked for a company, I always felt like, okay, this is comfortable. I know I'm getting a salary every month, and it's not like I have to crack my head on what to do. I know my job, right? So what do you do? How do you push yourself into thinking that, okay, now I'm ready for a business. Maybe I can start a business now. I have learned enough. I've got enough skills or anything like that. Now, how do you know? How do you push yourself to getting into that point that, okay, now let me go for it?
Okay, I can answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I said the one truth about myself, and I made the decision to start this company when I was traveling along Lake Bacau, and I look at this lake and look at all this nature, and I just felt so small. And that was a time I felt like I needed to do something big. And that's the moment that I wanted to change, to have some transition. And also, Nikita, you asked how to measure when to pull the trigger, right? And for me, I do think at that time I found the right people, which means people are my comfort zone. And also I felt like business-wise, I was in my comfort zone for too long. So I kind of wanted to jump out of my business comfort zone into an uncomfortable zone. So with the comfortable people and uncomfortable business zone, I feel like that's the right, everything is right. It's fit into its places, and I pulled the trigger. Yeah, that was my own experience.
Well, I think that also answers a lot of people's questions, because we are receiving many questions on our social media platforms right now. But we'll get back to it later. Now, Enoch, do you have any questions for them?
I guess I have a question for the employers team then. So I guess, it's great that you know what you love. It's great that you know what you want to create impact on. But I think the matter of fact is a lot of research have been done that many people don't know what their passion is. I think everyone know what they're interested in, but not many people know what their passion is, particularly straight out of graduation. So how can you guarantee you recommending recent graduate to find a business based on their interests, and then suddenly everything collapse? So what would give you the confidence to ensure that this is what you want to do and dedicate a large chunk of your life in doing and starting up a company, taking that risk?
I can tell you that if you like, Jim.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what I mentioned is that, first of all, I don't think it's necessary for everyone, right? Do I think that everyone should go out there and become a boss? No, obviously, if you don't want to do that, right? If you can't picture yourself in that kind of role, if you don't have any interest that you want to pursue with all your might in that way, then perhaps it's not something you should do, right? One thing that I mentioned is, however, I think that there's a little bit of a false kind of perception that starting a business and becoming an employee are fundamentally have a fundamentally different risk calculus when it comes to where you're applying your interest and investing your time, etc. It's actually the same thing. You're going to apply, say, 3 years at starting a business. What difference, compared to if you're 3 years an employee? Being an employee only gives you that sense of security, right? But in actual fact, say, you start a business, you spend 3 years and it doesn't work and you change to something else, compared to if you're an employee and you work for 3 years and then you change jobs, there's actually no difference, right? And same thing with like, oh, your interest. You're not sure whether you want to, do X or Y or Z. I don't think there's a difference between, becoming an employee and starting a business, because at the end of the day, if you pick wrong, whether you start a business, whether you commit to being an employee in certain industries, say, the end result is going to be the same. So I don't think that there's a high risk when you're starting a business if you're not sure what you want to do compared to whether you're an employee. I think the decision is actually the same.
Okay, thank you, Wilfried. I hope that answers Enoch's question. I also have one question from the viewers. There's one viewer called 仙人之路. He asks, he thinks starting a business and working should be able to go on at the same time. Because at the same time of working, thinking of starting a business also can be regarded as a good way, because capital is needed to start a business, and capital comes from work. So I think what he's trying to say is the slash generation. Yeah, you've all heard of the phrase slash generation. So how do you consider this slash generation, 斜杠青年, as we say it in Chinese? Everyone can answer this question, no matter which team you are from. And Enoch, Nikita, you can also take this into your consideration.
I can tell a little story about how I solved this problem. When I started my first business, I didn't have really any startup capital, which made it a little bit hard. And what I did have was a lot of connections, and I knew a lot of people, and I knew a lot of people who wanted to buy what that new future company was going to sell, which was videos and corporate video production. And so what I did is I went to, like, at the time, probably 25 different companies that I knew. And I told each of them that I would give them 50% off on a video if they would sign a contract with me. And then I went and signed contracts with, 5 of those companies. And the deposits from the payments for those projects turned into the capital that I used to create the business. So I think to have your own company, you do have to hustle. There is like a massive implicit part, which is like you have to push and hustle, and it's hard. And you can't use the mentality you might use if you're in like a company where, there's a lot of structure and process and get things done by the book. But I would challenge for us as bosses, I would challenge a little bit on this notion of the slash generation, because if you're doing multiple jobs, you might not be doing any of them particularly well. So I think you can have a side hustle, but splitting your time across multiple things can be quite difficult.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's challenging. So Enoch and Nikita, now it's your time to make your decision. This is the first round. You have to pick a team. Which team do you want to join? Lady first, Nikita.
I'll go for the employees.
So Nikita chooses the employee team. Enoch, what's your choice?
Then I would go against Nikita and say employer. I want to be a boss.
Okay, so now we have a 3 versus 3 kind of situation here. We have 3 people in the boss team, 3 people in the employee team, as we are seeing now on the screen. This is a new lineup for the second round. Enoch and Nikita, can you very briefly, in one sentence, describe your reason? Why did you make this choice?
Okay, basically, I've always been an employee, and I do have a business that I recently started which is a talk show. So for now, they convinced me to stay where I am. So I am still waiting for the other team to convince me to be with them.
Okay, you try harder in the second round. And Enoch?
I want to add one more sentence. So I want to comment on the audience question. I think when I was running a startup, I think sometimes when you go to investor and pitch your ideas, you actually want investor to introduce you to customers instead of just giving you money. And sometimes often it's a lot more important to have customers as opposed to just capital. So I absolutely agree with Jim's response. And in addition, I think I love what Wilfried mentioned about the sense of security. I think the only thing that is constant right now is change. So I think it's a high risk, high reward sort of choice. And I think as young people, I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, we have many viewers who have the same opinions as you do. So I can see a lot of questions people are sending in. Like one viewer named Xuefei, she's asking, I want to double my salary and be my own boss. Any suggestions? Well, everyone wants that, but I think you have your answers in our next rounds. We still have 2 more rounds left. Now let's move to the second round. We have the new lineup, 3 versus 3. This time, let's start from the employee team. Guxi or Mahal?
Yeah, I'll come first. For our previous round, we mentioned several reasons, and I mainly said from the individual perspective. And for this round, I kind of want to go bigger and set it from an environment perspective, because I co-founded my business with my co-founders ourselves, and we also luckily went through a very good time, golden era for this solely China. So we had this golden era. It's very easy to raise money, I will say, around 2014 to 2015. But sadly, golden era for startup has gone. And safe and sound is a more popular parachute for a younger generation. And that says flow money in the market has hugely shrunk. And we experienced that very clearly, very dearly, also in the same time as we were speaking. So I would say a safe advice for younger generation is to go not only look into yourself, but to go look outside, search around and see if this is the right environment for yourself and also for the business you're thinking about. Because no matter how determined you are, you also need to put the environment aspect into your consideration. And also policy risk is a topic that you cannot avoid here. Therefore, I would say harder to hire talents and also to gather rounds. And global trade and competition friction has also gotten worse. So I put all this into consideration and then you decide. This is just my from my own personal experience. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Jim and Wilfried, any thoughts?
Yeah, happy to volunteer a few thoughts and reactions. I mean, I guess I'll distill it into 3 points, right? It's fortune favors the brave, fortune favors the prepared, and finally, the more you do something, the better you become at it, right? So let's drill down into them. First, fortune favors the brave. At some point, you need to get out of your comfort zone, right? And keeping that sort of veneer and illusion of safety is actually never going to, if you really want to do something ambitious, is just really holding you back, right? And as I say, it's an illusion. When you're working, say, for a startup, you get the impression of stability because there's a salary that's arriving in your account every month. You're not seeing what's behind the curtain that we see as founders, which is utter chaos all the time and risk, etc., which you see as a co-founder, but you are just as exposed towards as an employee, right? So get rid of this illusion of, as Enoch was saying, that things are stable, things are in constant flux. Whether you're an employee or whether you're in a startup, there's no such thing as 100% stability, right? So fortune favors the brave. The second one is fortune favors the prepared. Now there's being bold and there's being stupid, right? So like quitting your job, no plan, no co-founder, no access to capital, no connections, no nothing. That's probably a bad idea, right? But maybe spending 6 months while you're still working or even like I did, right? Before I had even graduated, starting to build a product, building a team, starting to get customers, etc. Then raising some money straight out the gate once you quit your job, or even before you quit your job, before you graduate from university, with already a plan that's done out. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Time's up, Wilfried. Thank you.
Right, I'll get back to my last point.
Yeah, we'll get back to you. So what do you have to say, Mahal?
Yeah, so regarding Wilfried's point, I both agree and disagree on different parts of this, of his, what he expressed. So I think I would like to also look at, the past couple of years. So I graduated not that long ago. So like the coronavirus situation really hit the job market by then. And unfortunately, I know many people with smaller businesses who either just started or even had them for years, and they were completely shut down with no means of recovery really. And I feel, at least here in Central Europe, the country policy also really favored the employees. So in the sense of such a big event that really changes how the landscape works for all companies, for all economies, at least from my perspective, the employees were way safer than the actual bosses of the companies, for example, because the law protected them so much. And thanks to that, well, it's also the question of how big a company is, because some smaller businesses can just be swept away with anything like this happening, while the bigger businesses can have some means to just take yourself in, just survive the, well, whatever is coming. So I will agree with Wilfried on the point that I don't think just quitting your job and going into the world with no plan, it's not a good idea at all. So I will agree that you need to first do your research, find your clients and everything, and then it just makes more sense. So yeah, I guess I will still argue that being an employee in times of, well, in such turbulent times as we have now, it is a bit safer, I think still. Of course, depending on the company, but a bit safer.
Yeah, that kind of explains itself. You said safer. Being an employee is safer, and Wilfried just said you need to be brave. Okay, now let's go to Jim. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I think that it's important to think about your baseline level of risk for everybody who's considering this notion of, being a boss, which could mean starting your own entrepreneurial venture or, working inside of a company. But I would also challenge the notion that working in a big company is safe. A lot of big companies lay people off without a lot of advance notice. You're not, necessarily going to be treated well in a company just because it exists, and there's also been many companies in the last several years that have gone under because of pressures related to the coronavirus pandemic, as you mentioned. I think on the side of being your own boss, it doesn't necessarily mean you open up a retail store and suddenly hire 100 employees, right? Being a boss could be as simple as, looking at ways that you could use the gig economy to find your own projects and bootstrap your own venture. So I don't necessarily think that being a boss implies taking on a lot of financial risk, hiring a bunch of employees, having a physical brick and mortar location. There are a lot of ways in the gig economy today that you can find ways to bootstrap your own business. There's a whole bunch of online influencers. Their whole thing is going to garage sales and buying, objects they resell on eBay, and they turn that into a whole career and take that money and use it for their own ventures. So I think if you're okay with a certain level of risk, you don't necessarily have to become the boss of a 500 person multinational, but you can become the boss of something small and exciting and something that's truly yours. And I think that can be very exciting.
Thank you, Jim. I think everyone has made their points very clear. So Enoch and Nikita, what kind of questions do you have for them in this round?
So for me, I think both, I think the employee team kind of slightly more convinced me by adding context, by adding what recently happened, right, in the COVID pandemic. So my question for the employer team is particularly what Wilfried mentioned, fortune favors bravery and fortune favors prepared. My question is, why then start up company after graduation? Why don't you accumulate more confidence and bravery? Why don't you become more prepared by working for a corporation first before starting a company?
I think Wilfried just made that point. Yeah. What's your answer?
Yeah, no, so that's perfect because it leads me to the third point I didn't have time to mention, which was the more you do something, the better you become at it, right? So I think that there are very fast diminishing returns on the time that you spend in as an employee when you're looking to ultimately become a boss, right? I've spoken to so many people, who are 10, 15 years my seniors, who are regional heads of some of the largest tech companies in the, over here or in Europe, in the US, and who are asking me such basic questions about starting a business, right? They're like, oh, am I going to need to register trademarks? How do I, hire employees? How do I do payroll? How, should I do this? Should I do that? Right. I'm like, how do you not know this? You're in this like big fancy role and you've been an employee for like 15 to 20 years, right? The fact is that there are things that you only learn by being an employee, by being a boss, by running your own company, right? As Jim was saying, there's a huge amount of hustle, especially in early stage startups. As you become larger, it becomes, a little bit more of a science. But in early stage, right, if you're talking like tech startups, between your pre-seed and your sort of Series A, it's a ton about the hustle. It's a ton about sort of figuring things out. And you're never going to learn that as an employee, right? So if you're talking about preparedness, the best thing you can really do to get prepared ultimately is just to start a company and to learn how to do it, because there's no other way to learn how to do this thing than to actually do it.
Thank you. Did he answer your question, Enoch?
I'm convinced again. Oh no.
You have to make your decision. You are so easily convinced. Nikita, what's your question?
I was already convinced on the boss team, and what he just said right now also did blow my mind. Like I'm going for the boss team now.
Wow. So Wilfried's answer, it seems like you just won 2 hearts, but I'm not so sure. Is that your final decision, Enoch, Nikita?
And one more note to maybe get a little bit chips.
See, the employee team is fighting back. So yeah, go ahead, Guxi.
So just Wilfred mentioned starting a company, the best thing to prepare for is to just starting it. But I would want to question it, because starting a company also means you're going to have a lot of people involved. You're going to hire people and you're going to have a lot of people on board. So it's not only a personal decision. It has to be a decision of a group. And at this point, you're the decision maker and you're you put the trigger. So you have to think for others. Is this a mature decision, or you're actually putting a lot of people on the same string with you to take this risk? This is something I also constantly think about, because at this time, right, starting a new business, yes, that's brave, but what's behind the brave, or what's next the bravery? That's a lot for us to think about. It's responsibility. So this is especially for young generation. They just graduated. They don't have any society experience. They don't have any experience dealing with people relations or all those things we can learn from previous working experience. How can you be so sure that you can deal with this properly and perfectly meanwhile running a company? Which means, how can you be a qualified social person, meanwhile a leader of a proper corporate? That's a big question mark. Yeah, that's
Thank you. Yeah, that's her point. That's employee team's points to trying to win the hearts back. So Enoch and Nikita, what are your choices? Do you want to, just go for it, be brave, or do you want to accumulate little by little? Which team are you going to join in this round? Enoch?
I'm going brave.
You're going brave.
I'm going for it. Yes.
Is going to the boss team. Enoch?
I want to make it interesting by sticking with the boss team, and I'm going to ask the employee team to convince me for the last round.
Okay, try harder, employee team. Okay, so by now seems boss team won this round completely. We have 4 people in the boss team, and Guxi, Mahal, you need to try harder in the final round. And I actually have one question for all of you guys, because we see a lot of comments coming in from our social media platforms. They say that, you can do both or do what you want, be prepared, because the recent graduates, they are young enough, they have so many opportunities to do whatever they want. They can make mistakes. They can make mistakes because they have time. So my question is, do you think the first job is crucial or decisive in your career development?
Can I tell you this one?
Wilfried?
I think 100% super, super crucial. So now I think there's a short window that you have, after your first job, if you want to, bring things into a new direction, right? So, maybe a year or two or whatnot. Fact is, like, after you start becoming specialized in one kind of role, your prospects in that particular role are going to continue improving. And the prospect of going back 2 steps and starting again from zero is going to seem like terrible to you at that time, right? So you want to be in, something that ideally you can stick with, because, you're going to start piling things up in a particular lane, and switching that lane is typically going to mean starting again at zero, bar, maybe doing kind of an MBA or something like that, which some people decide on doing to redirect their career. But there is a strong path dependency, that's what I believe, to what you start out doing at the beginning of your career.
I want to make a comment and add a different dimension. I think it is important, but I don't think when you start your career, particularly in your early career, to find a big multinational company, I don't think you should. I think particularly for recent graduates, don't go for stability, even though if you want to work for multinationals one day. I think it's more important, as opposed to finding a company that you align your values, etc. with, finding a good boss. I think it's important during the interview to understand who you'll be working with. I made a big mistake by finding a company that I really align in terms of value, but end up having a horrible boss. And I think now I'm in a really nice place where I really enjoy working with my supervisor, and it's very important that I work with her as opposed to working for her. I think she's able to guide me almost like a mentor. She's going to introduce me opportunities because she understands my success equal her success. But my first boss is very, very different. It's about controlling and managing me. So I think my advice for any recent graduate is during the interview, don't be afraid to try to understand who you'll be working for, and eventually working with. Who is your boss? What is he or she like? And I think that would be my advice.
Thank you, Enoch. That's a very, very good point. And that actually brings out another question, because, we actually did some polls before the show starts on the social media platforms. And we have one poll is about what factors do you value the most in your first job? There are 4 choices: salary and benefits. And the second one is working atmosphere. Third one, personal interest. And the fourth one is promotion opportunities. And actually, more than 31% of the netizens, they chose salary and benefits. Working atmosphere, I think they value that most. It's just like what you said. More than 37% people chose that sector, and then 25% of people chooses personal interest. So I really want to hear your ideas. What do you value the most?
Yeah, if I may, I think it should be the learning possibilities. So just back to the previous question for a second about the first job. So for example, my own first job wasn't like perfectly aligned with my interest, because I didn't really have a choice, I think, in that matter. In Poland, often after you graduate, the first job is there to kickstart you, sort of, that to have some experience, which you can then use to maybe get another job in something that interests you more. But the first job, it's quite hard to find a job that suits you perfectly right off the bat, with no experience, with nothing in your resume, so to speak, apart from maybe some odd job like a pub or restaurant or something. If you only have that, it's hard to find the perfect job. So yeah, I think for that, just the learning experience. Even if the job is not perfect, there is still a lot to learn. Even if your boss is not perfect, there's probably something that you can learn from your boss, or maybe learn about something that he or she does wrong, and you want to avoid that in the future. But there's still just keep learning, and if you focus on that, then any job can be beneficial.
Okay, thank you, Mohal. I think so. As we can see now, that was the new lineup for now. We have only one final round left. Nikita and Enoch, this is your last chance to change your position, change your mind. Boss team and employee team is also your last shot to impress them. Gushi and Mahal, I think you guys need to work harder to win their hearts. So in this round, it's a little bit different from the previous 2 rounds. Each side gets to say 1 sentence to conclude your opinions. And then we can have a free debate after your conclusions, exchange of words in the free debate. So boss team goes first. Who would like to make that 1 sentence conclusion? Jim?
Yeah,
okay,
no,
go ahead.
I can go for it. Let me have a quick thing to distill. So what Jim said. I want to be fair to both our opinions here. I'll say I'll say be bold, be prepared, apply yourself to something that you love, and remember that the more you do something, the better you're going to become at it. So hone your skills over time and enjoy the ride.
Okay, pretty good point. Be bold and be brave. Jump out of your comfort zone. And employee team, Gushi or Mahal?
I can
Last
go.
chance. Okay, Mahal.
Yeah, so this is a funny metaphor that we have here in kind of, running your company is like a stew. So try to build your core connection first, business partners, mentors, bosses. Analyze your ingredients before you make your own meal. So in the meanwhile, get a job, learn as much as you can from it. And then once you've built up the experience, become a boss yourself.
Thank you, Mahal. So I think that concludes everything. So Nikita and Enoch, you can consider your final decisions now, but don't tell us yet. Let's do some free debate first. Guys, all 6 of you, you can chat, freely, say whatever you didn't have the time or opportunities to say earlier, fight against the different ideas that you don't agree.
I'm actually cracked my wrist because I'm ready to fight.
Okay.
Sorry, I got no hard in this because Wilfried just mentioned the first job is very important, 100% important, because you see it as a short window, and that I want to use to fight against Wilfried because it is because the first job is so important. You need to think twice who's gonna be your boss, who you're gonna work for. Work for yourself or work for someone you already worship, admire, and definitely be certain that you can learn a lot of things from this boss. Basically, you compare yourself with a mature and existing and well-proved boss in the market. That's why I sincerely recommend our younger generation to think twice and compare yourself with some mentors existing, and then think about learn first and then accumulate, and then think about who you really are and then pull the trigger. Because practice doesn't make perfect. I think perfect practice makes perfect. That's my point. Be smart.
If I can react.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Enoch.
Yeah, I want to make a quick remark about a comment earlier that was mentioned by the internet user that she wanted to double her salary so that she wanted to be her own boss. I think being a boss and having been a boss, salary is a very interesting thing. Because I think when I think of salary, especially when I was a boss, and I think of salary not just as a number that I give out, but in terms of what values I'm creating. Because someone else is going to pay for your salary, and it depends on what value you're creating. So if you want to double your salary, I'll think more about, am I doubling the values that I'm creating for the company? Am I doubling the value that I'm creating for the business? I know it's a lot to put on recent graduate. I know it's a lot to put on employee. But as a boss, from the boss perspective, I think a boss would more than happy to triple your salary if you are able to double and triple your value. And this comes from growth. And this comes from grabbing opportunities. This comes from being entrepreneurial, but not necessarily being an entrepreneur. So I think there's been a lot of very interesting points, particularly, I think the final comment I want to make is, whatever we're discussing now, I think the management of multinational are aware. they want to retain their talents. So I think increasingly more multinationals are sort of looking at ways to create an entrepreneurial environment, to create innovative environment, or even create environment that enable the slash generation to be part-timers in their own time and explore their interest and passion. So I think it's a very, very interesting time, particularly given the context that we're in and given the technology that we can enjoy today. So that's a brief remark and comment.
Okay, thank you, Enoch. So I actually have a few questions to you guys regarding your personal working experiences. So Mahal, I am really curious about working culture in Poland. Because in China and the United States, we usually, when we are looking for jobs, we usually send out a lot of resumes online, or the companies will come to the career fair in the universities during the graduation season. Is that also like that in Poland? And so for people around you, do young people prefer to work in big cities or near their hometowns?
Okay, so the first thing about the big cities and smaller cities. So I come from a smaller city myself, and I think I can say with confidence that in Poland, 90% of people leave the smaller towns to go to the bigger towns. And this is because of two reasons. So one, it's just better universities and just more, options to educate yourself in this area. And also, even whether you go to attend a university or not, there's just more jobs, many more companies moving to the bigger cities because these are just bigger markets. The smaller towns can often become a bit stale in a way, in that you don't have so many like niche products or companies that can thrive on a smaller scale market. But then we have like the people move to the bigger cities and finish university, perhaps find a starter job. We also have like those university fairs, but I guess they're not as popular or frequent as they are in other places, but we usually have some like student internships. Many university degrees require you to work for a few months in a company, and some people really take this opportunity to just find a job that or just a company that they really want to be in later on, and many of those internships convert into full-time jobs.
Okay, so still do as many internship as you can before you enter the company. So, and then my next question is for Nikita. You are from South Africa. So I read some research report before. It reports that actually the top 10 most in-demand jobs in South Africa include languages, medicine and nursing, IT, and customer service. I know you are also teaching languages right now in China. So do you see any difference in this industry between China and South Africa?
Okay, yes, I do actually, because in South Africa, we actually have 12 official languages. Basically, if you're in South Africa, you can't be like a person who only knows one language. You have to know more than one or speak more than one language, because it is obviously in demand. And if you are working in a company, there's people who speak other languages. And let's say maybe you're a presenter and you are only speaking English, it would actually disqualify you, because you have to understand other languages. If you have maybe people you are interviewing and they speak other languages, then you're going to have to be able to speak to them in their language. And also in China, what I've realized in China is what is popular is Mandarin, basically. I have colleagues who only speak Mandarin and they don't understand English or any other language, and they're still fine. Like, I feel like if you're in China, you can work anywhere and just knowing Mandarin or speaking only one language. And yeah, that is the difference that I've seen actually.
So how many languages do you speak?
I speak, it's Chinese, Mandarin, English, Xhosa, and isiZulu.
4 languages.
That's
Wow.
4. Yes, 4.
Wow. Do we have any more people who speaks more languages than Nikita here?
Does Sichuan dialect count?
No.
I think it should.
Okay. So thank you, Nikita. And my next question is for Jim and Enoch. You guys have both worked in, have a lot of work experiences. Jim, I know you've worked in the tech industry in Silicon Valley, and you also worked in other tech companies when you first came to China. Enoch, you've also had a lot of job experiences. So how did you guys make your decision to change to a completely different industry? What do you consider?
So mine is easy and quick, so I'll start. I didn't necessarily change industry. I think my boss made my decision easier by not being a good one. So I just didn't enjoy working for my supervisor at that time, and I think it was I was a young girl, and in the sense that I feel like if I were in his or her position, I can do it better than him or her. So I think why not give it a go. So then I left and I started my own company, but then I realized it is easier said than done. It is so complex of actually running and starting a company, particularly when Wilfred mentioned it's not free. There's not much freedom being a co-founder or founder. You work for investor, you work for your customer, you work for your partners every single day. But it's a high risk, high rewarding choice.
Jim?
Yeah. There's a quote from Steve Jobs I really like that goes something like, you can't connect the dots in your life or your career looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And you have to trust that the dots are going to connect somehow in your future. So for
That's
me,
a very interesting point.
I didn't necessarily completely change industries. I've definitely done a bunch of different things, whether it's starting as like a marketing video person and then moving into starting my own company, and then more recently moving into like the tech startup space. But the through line is a willingness to take risk. And also, I think maybe I wanted to talk a little bit about something Enoch said in the very beginning, which was about interest and passion. I think people over-index on the importance of how much interest you have to have in your work, or how much you have to put your personal passion into your job or your career. I think for me, if I can find a good team and an interesting challenge that we can apply energy to, that can be something that can be extremely rewarding, even if it doesn't completely line up with my own, hobbies or interests or passions. So I think my advice, for both the people who are listening and also younger graduates is look for interesting opportunities and problems to solve. Maybe they aren't necessarily tied to your specific interests, but they could lead you to some very interesting places.
Can I just add one more sentence, since Jim was talking about quotes? So some often an advice I sometimes give recent graduates at university is that a lot of times in career you have 2 choices that you can make. One is to follow and chase your own dream, or help someone else to chase their dream. So I think regardless of whatever choice you make, being an entrepreneur, working for someone else, I think it's important to eventually find your passion, to eventually find what you are passionate for, that you don't mind waking up 5-6 o'clock in the morning and throughout and dedicate your whole entire career in doing. So this is what I want to leave our audience.
I would also love to add on that. Like Enoch has been talking about passion. I call it purpose, basically. And I feel like if you do follow your purpose, you will never in your day, not even once, feel like you are working, because that is something you love. And also, if you are following your purpose, don't worry so much about getting paid first. When you bring your value, when people can see what you are bringing and it's your purpose and you are not being paid, you will still be happy. But obviously, if you bring in so much value into that, people will then eventually call you and say, hey, I know you're doing this, so can I pay you to do this for me? And that way you will build your step up.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what we say. What you love and love what you do.
If I can just react to that real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
With a caveat more in the direction of Jim, I think it's a high bar to set to tell young graduates, hey, right now you need to know what you're passionate about and what your purpose in life is. right? I think that that's an iterative process. Some people actually never find what it is that they want to do with their lives. For other people, it takes years, right? It takes experiences, misses and hits on target to then figure out, okay, like this is actually wrong. This is one of the things that I really like, and I'm willing to dedicate a lot of my time to this, right? I do see, you know, in people who are looking to start a business, a lot of the time, you know, a little bit of analysis paralysis, right? Where, you know, they're constantly soul searching and whatnot, and eventually start nothing, right? Whereas if they had started something, then they would have found out, you know, 2 years down the line, oh, actually, you know, I like this, but maybe in a slightly different kind of form or whatnot, right? The last kind of two very quick points that I'll make is, you know, one, I like the point that Jim was making about, you know, connecting the dots, right? When I connect the dots backwards in what got me to where I am today, a lot of those dots turn out to be people, right? And relationships, people who enabled me to get to where I am today, right? And I've not always made a systematic enough effort to invest in relationships. But now, you know, looking back, I realize that that is probably the most important thing for me to invest time in is relationships, because, you know, from like co-founders, from the people who are going to invest in you, your customers, you know, your partner in life, all of those are relationships, and they're going to be the biggest determinants of your life. So investing in relationships, it's a great investment. The last thing that I mentioned is earlier, I like the analogy of, you know, a company is a stew, right? I think to an extent you can make the same point about being ready to be a boss. There are lots of things that go into that stew. You got to be mentally ready. You got to be professionally ready. Got to have connections, etc. The fact is, it can happen at different points in your life. It can happen when you're graduating. It can happen after you graduate, right? If you're like Jim and you grew up in Silicon Valley and you're surrounded by entrepreneurs all the time and by capital, etc., you might be in a better position than if you weren't surrounded by that environment, right? So you might be, you know, more ready at a young age. If we look at the founders of Bolt, for instance, I'll take two companies, you know, over $10 billion company, one-click checkout in the US. The founder of Oil Rooms, Ritesh Agarwal in India, both of them started their companies, which are now, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies right out of college. Was that the wrong decision? No, it wasn't, right? So I think it's very contextual. You've got to make sure that you have the right ingredients. When those ingredients come into play, at what point in your life, that's up to you.
Thank you. I think, and you just mentioned, you know, investor co-founder relationship. That is actually a question I was going to ask Guxi. So you just said that you made your mind to start a business by like how do you choose your co-founder? What kind of qualities do you see in them?
Well, of course. We were so familiar with each other back then because we were under the same professor back in the university. And also I think that the core value is, this is what echoes to what I want to mention, because I finally agree with Wilfred this time. Because you mentioned about passion, mentioned about connecting the dots. And I want to say also one of our audience raises question, how to balance out this interest and passion. And I wanted to say every time I make my decision, I was not driven by passion or interest. It sounds scary, but the truth is I was always driven by fear. I was in so much fear that if I'm not going to do this, then I'll probably feel huge regrets in 5 or 10 years. And back then when I was by the lake and I was alone and I look at my counterparts, my co-founders, and I was so in envy that their growth curve is so steep. And I imagined that happened to myself. So it was just simple. I'm not like looking for all similar souls or someone who is totally the opposite. I just want exactly what's happening to him and happened to me. So I just made the decision. That was very clean, very quick, very out of blue, but very decisive and just happened like for 1 second.
Okay, this is also another question I would like to ask all of you. So we all know, and we've mentioned a lot of times that being an entrepreneur and an employee, they require different qualities that include, you know, mindset, habits, comfort levels. So how do you see these differences? And there are a lot of people, viewers, they're saying that you can try both. You can decide after you try, but how would you know which suits you more?
to continue what I was just talking about, one big lesson I learned from my own startup experience is you don't need to be everything, or you don't need to be good at everything. And the biggest part for us as entrepreneurs to learn is you're gonna recognize what you're not good at and go find the right person to fit that role for you, instead of you being stubborn and pushing yourself all the time. That's the biggest lesson I've ever learned from the past few years. So this is what I also want to share with everyone who's watching this. And also the how to collide with investor and customer. Also, this is like learning about yourself journey. This is really about going deeper into yourself instead of searching out. Because you constantly, as Jim and also Enoch mentioned, you're questioned by investors, you're questioned by your customers, you're also questioned by your employees. Because you're a boss, they cannot always fight against you, right? They probably shit talk about you behind the deck. So this is what you need to deal with. You don't need to be a well-rounded person, but you need to know that you're the leader. You don't need to be the friend, but you need to be friendly. So put all this together. You need to be a friendly leader to always lead. This is a behavior you must do instead of saying or advocating, because leading, it's a verb after all, right?
Thank you so much. All of you have made really, really good points, but remember, we still have choices to reveal. Enoch and Nikita, this is the final round. Which team did you choose? Tell us the answer. Do you choose to be the boss or the employee? Nikita?
It was not an easy choice, but I decided to switch team. So I switched to employee.
Oh, good job, team employee. And Nikita?
We're recruiting Enoch, by the way.
I also decided to go for employee.
Ooh.
Because of my experience, actually, as an employee, I just realized that all their points actually made sense to me, and I could put myself into the shoes. And I thought of the background of where I come from, like South Africa. I had to come to China because I couldn't find a job back home. And because I didn't have a job, I couldn't start a business. So I knew that I had to find something to do, which was teaching. And teaching wasn't really what I thought is like my main career, but it was kind of a backup. And then I thought, okay, let me go for this backup. And along the way, then I can go back and find what exactly I love, my purpose, my passion. And yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Well, I think that concludes our talk today. But again, congratulations first, employee team. But the winning team doesn't mean the winning decision, because there's no right or wrong choices regarding career choosing. Entrepreneurs or employees both ways can be successful. You are really good examples to illustrate this point. So before we wrap it up, guys, I'd like to ask each of you to say one sentence to the recent graduates. It can be advices, suggestions, warnings, or encouragements, anything. Let's start from the team employee.
Michal, you want to go first?
Okay, I can go first. Sure. Yeah, so I just want to rephrase my point from our earlier discussion that no matter what your job is, no matter what your university degree is, no matter what you're doing, if you're passionate about it or not so passionate about it, just try to learn from every experience that you get. Just try to learn about the do's and the don'ts, the rights and the wrongs, whenever you see them around you. And because this is ultimately what makes every job, a part of our experience. Just trying to learn from your employer's mistakes, from your own mistakes, just try to learn and everything will come together.
Thank you. And Gushi?
My note is pretty short. It really doesn't matter you're gonna start a business or you work for others as your first step into this society. just make sure you got right mentality to be your own boss instead of being attracted to being a boss, this concept itself. And that will save you from a lot of trouble in the future.
Really, really good point. And then let's go to the two new employees. Nikita?
I would say find your purpose. The earlier you find your purpose and you understand what you are good at, the better.
Thank you. Enoch?
What I want to say is that if the audience listening, if you're swayed by what we are saying, and you don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore, I don't think you are fit to be an entrepreneur anyway. I think for those who want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to do whatever you want to do regardless of what we say. And for those who really considering to be entrepreneur, my advice is that entrepreneur for me is great problem solver. And in order to solve a problem, you need to know what problem you're solving for and who you're solving the problem for. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, my advice is that find a problem that is worth solving and mobilize people around you to solve that problem. So that would be my advice for any entrepreneur want to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have two recruiting entrepreneurs here. Wilfried?
Yeah, no, I really like the advice given by Enoch there. I'll say, don't let yourself be limited by whatever artificial, illusory constructs and systems and rules exist around you, right? In a company, you can't do X because you're in Y position. Don't let that limit you, right? The responsibility you get is the responsibility you take. You'll only learn as much as you're willing to, go out there and learn for yourself, right? There's no process around starting a company. There's no process around being successful, right? You got to find your own way. Don't let yourself be limited by, artificial constructs. Let your mind roam free. Go out there, as Enoch was saying, pick a problem if you want to be an entrepreneur, and go out there and solve that problem and forget about the rest.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Jim?
Yeah, I think that if I was to give advice to myself back when I first got on the job market, it probably would have been to take responsibility for the choices I was making about careers. I think a lot of people end up in a job because they get introduced or because they just find their way into a company or a certain position. And everything can be a stepping stone to something great, whether it means starting your own company or whether it means creating relationships or creating skills that are useful for the future. So I think for those folks who are looking at those new opportunities, whether it's as an employer or a boss, take that ownership and realize that it could be the start of something very exciting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for your time and inspirational ideas and words. And thank you so much, our audience, for watching What's the Talk. I hope you've learned something. I myself have already learned a lot through this talk. And if you have any more questions or concerns, comment and let us know. And remember to follow us. And hope to see you again in the next episode of What's the Talk. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.